All right, Nick, let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders, the team that's made a lot of decisions over the last year or so, some very controversial amongst the fan base. But I think today we have a story to kind of go through one of the most controversial decisions and talk about how it may not have been as bad of a thing as people think.
Yeah, Miles, we've gotten a lot of interesting feedback from Raiders fans about the state of the franchise right now. Listen, we're going to take you guys off the ledge here a little bit because it looks like the Raiders may be doing some things a little bit smarter than you may originally think. We got some great reports to back it up. But before we get into that, Raiders fans, want you guys to answer this question in the comment section below. Look, we always hear about the biggest leap a player can take is from year one to year two. That didn't do a whole lot maybe the rookie year, but the second year they break out and become a quality player. Give us a guy in Raiders history who kind of broke out, a guy who took that leap, who came out of nowhere, was maybe a backup, and then evolved into a big time player. Give us an example of that in Raiders history in the comment section below. All right, Miles, I'll throw it back over to you now. What's these reports out of Las Vegas?
Yeah, Nick, talking about leaps and regressions and things like that, that is the question mark now. The Raiders had a thing, maybe not a sure thing, in quarterback Derek Carr, and then they decided to move off of him, arguably without good cause. But when you go and dig through the stats, Nick, if you look at how things have been going, I think that it was the right move and it was very smart by the Raiders to do so. I think it was the best decision for them to make. Not saying that Carr might need it, and they both probably needed a change of pace, but at the time, Derek Carr was not doing any favors for the Raiders. We have the stats to back it up. Let's go through those first, and then we're going to talk about them. First up, we have a couple of tweets from Warren Sharp, a very bright, very sharp guy on analytics and in the NFL statistics. And he has a list of completion rating inside the 10-yard line, Nick. And if you go down the list and look at the very bottom, there's Derek Carr. 33% completion percentage within the 10-yard line. That is not very good. That is not where you want to be, Nick, in case anybody is not aware of that. That is very poor. So I think that is a point that we need to keep in mind when we get to our overarching opinion on why they moved off Derek Carr. The second tweet I'm going to bring up here, though, Nick, is again from Warren Sharp, and he says, I can't emphasize enough. These aren't all of them. Not everyone is 100% is all his fault, obviously, but these are the last 2 years inside the 10 with Derek Carr. He ranked dead last in completion percentage, dead last in yards per average, and second to last in EPA. So this is just once again reiterating that Derek Carr was horrible with inside the 10-yard line, Nick. He could not get the job done the last 2 years. I think this was really hurting the Raiders. What are your thoughts on these first two tweets, and what are your thoughts on Derek Carr as a whole?
Yeah, man. So I think the big thing I want to highlight here is with this tweet you have on the screen right here. The second one is the last 2 years. This isn't all Josh McDaniels. So obviously this goes back to last year as well. But I also want to focus on the fact you saw in the first tweet that he was dead last in completion percentage. That was during the 2022 season. That's with Devontae Adams, maybe probably the best wide receiver in all of football. And of course, the plethora of weapons. Of course, Darren Waller didn't play a whole lot, but the plethora of weapons they have on offense. Jacobs is a heck of a running back. He should have been at the top. And Warren Sharp actually did a heck of a job on Twitter. I highly recommend you Raiders fans go on Twitter and check it out. He had like a 30 tweet long thread highlighting a number of missed throws and miscues that Derek Carr has had in the red zone inside the 10-yard line over the past 2 seasons. And it's a lot, Miles. And look, Carr is not a bad player. I'm not here to bash Derek Carr. But the reality is, with the Raiders the last couple of years, he did not get it done in the red zone. The stats back it up. The eye test backs it up. I remember against the Los Angeles Rams last season on Monday Night Football. I think it was Thursday Night Football, actually. They were playing Baker Mayfield. They were big favorites on the road. They're up double digits. They're in the red zone. Derek Carr throws a terrible red zone interception. It kind of flips the game around. Of course, the Raiders end up losing that game in heartbreaking fashion. And after that, the season kind of completely fell apart. They weren't going to make the playoffs after that. They had a chance up to that point. I think that's what really hurt him. You talk about the blown leads, the missed opportunities, the inability to execute in the red zone, in my opinion, was the big negative impact on the Raiders offense. We don't know what will happen with Jimmy G, but by the way, if you want to go ahead and go back to the first tweet, Miles, the first one you showed up, look at who's number 4 on that list. It's Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So 62%. There may be a little something too here. And look, I know it's Jimmy G. I'm not saying he's the second coming or anything like that, but there may be a little method to the madness that Ziegler and company are doing there over in Las Vegas right now.
Yeah, Nick, I think that's a really interesting point. But we go to finally the third tweet in our list of tweets. And this is from Josh DeBow over at the AP. And it said, in the past 5 seasons. So as you said, the first one was 1 season. The second tweet was 2 seasons. This going over the past 5 seasons. There are 28 quarterbacks with 150 plus attempts in the red zone. Derek Carr ranked 25th in passer rating, 25th in touchdown pass percentage, 22nd in completion percentage, and 15th in combined pass and rush touchdowns. He's committed the second most turnovers in that span in the red zone, Nick. So this just shows that Derek Carr has really struggled in the red zone, not just 1, not just 2 years, but over the last 5 years with the Raiders. He has really been a detriment in the red zone to them. And you go back and look through this log of games really fast, Nick. You look at the loss to the Chargers, 1-score game. This is their first game of the season. Look at the loss to the Cardinals, 1-score game. Look at the loss to the Titans, 1-score game. You go down every single loss outside of maybe the loss to the Saints, the loss to the Chiefs, 1-point game. Jaguars, 1-score game. The Chiefs blew them out a little bit there, 24-0. But almost every single game the Raiders lost last year was within a score. So that has a big thing to deal with. I think he cleans up that a little bit. The Raiders would have been very much in playoff contention.
Oh, yeah. And just one more thing I want to end on here, Mize, is that, and you kind of brought it up, is that you look at the last 5 years with Derek Carr. You look at all the commonalities and all the variables that have changed with the Raiders. Obviously, going from Gruden to off Gruden to Bisaccia as an interim basis, McDaniels. You have a lot of weapons come and go. You have a lot of offensive linemen come and go. You have a lot of tight ends, receivers. Defense has changed. Entire strategies have changed over the past 5 years. The one constant has been Derek Carr, and the issues in the red zone will absolutely obliterate you in close games. And that's what we've seen with the Raiders the past 3, 4, 5 seasons. You even go back to their playoff loss against the Cincinnati Bengals. Red zone issues, of course, the final turnover in the red zone cemented their defeat 2 seasons ago. I don't want to jump on the Derek Carr, just burying him into the dirt. I think he's a nice guy, sounds like a very nice person, and I think he'll do a lot of good things with New Orleans. It just wasn't a good fit in terms of where the Raiders need to be in terms of red zone production. And I think Raiders fans, you guys need to understand that I think it will actually be a lot better than you think into 2023, just because either whether it's with Jimmy G or potentially the rookie Aiden O'Connell, your red zone production will go up a lot. And I think you guys will be really excited by it. Trust me, you guys, a lot of negative comments, a lot of concerns about where the Raiders are going. It's going to be a lot better than you think. All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big-time game-winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro Gum. Neuro Gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Mize. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.